The BumbleKast is for entertainment purposes only. The host's comments and opinions, and those of their guests, are wholly their own and do not represent that of any other entity. Content is provided as is, with no guarantees of accuracy or timeliness.
Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
Oh boy, it's Friday the 13th, possibly, when we're putting this out. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it could be. Who knows? It might very well be scary.
Oh boy. Well, on this, the spookiest of months, June.
Well, I mean, if you lived in Phoenix, yeah.
All right. We'll give you the treat of these questions and answers that come from our patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members. The questions come from them. The answers come from us.
Or do they?
Love that entirely. Kyle, take us away.
Okay. Lord Head Cheese is going to start us off. Head cheese. So the Eurovision Song Contest is happening today. So in the spirit of the day, let's assume a powerful force has forced the 6 realms of Drogoon to put on a similar contest. How does it go, and who would win?
Oh, we don't need an outside influence. They do that anyway. There's all sorts of inter-realm contests and competitions and sports events and programs and what have you. And you get some serious talent from all over. Like different regional styles of singing. Most of it in recent years has been more focused on the pop stuff coming out of Humaheim, because that's what's forced to be popular, and you got to win somehow. And yet somehow every single year, despite some incredible performances and just amazing talent, it's the Hume who wins.
Of course.
Every year. Now, granted, they are always talented in their own right, but there's been some contention the last few years where it's like, they were good, but other ones were better. Kind of crying foul here. And they're even saying that in Humaheim. And when they're saying it there, you know the facade is falling away.
Uh-oh. Well, those dang Humes. Gross. Blah. Here's one from Noni. Hey guys, out of curiosity, how do you feel about the current state of Star Wars?
I don't have my finger on that pulse anymore.
I have fallen so far off. I don't care. I don't care. That's where I'm at. Just don't care.
Part of my burnout is just I went way too hard into it for a long time, and you can't keep up with it all, especially now. So I've heard great things about Andor. I need to get into that at some point.
I've never watched any of the shows at all.
I will sit you down and have you watch the first season of Mandalorian.
And the only spinoff I've seen is Rogue One spinoff movie.
It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
It does some neat stuff. I mean, part of it too is starting with the prequel. Well, shoot, that's not even fair. Even the old extended universe, before they started it all over.
Yeah.
There were decisions and directions in there that I felt like didn't feel like Star Wars, and I wasn't a big fan of. And the prequels did stuff that I'm like, I feel like you're missing the point of your own thing, which is the height of arrogance, but so it goes. And then the sequel trilogy squandered so much good faith and opportunity and actors, and the list goes on. I don't know. I think I'm okay with just kind of picking at it here and there for the neat stuff. I am amused that they're coming out with another console collection of games. And Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight is on there. And I played the hell out of that on my dad's PC way back in the day. And I wonder how it works on console, because it was very much a PC game.
Yeah, that's honestly, the games are kind of a slightly more exciting thing for me. I'm like, bringing back the old games is like, that's good. I definitely like to see that. I mean, otherwise, I'm just done with it. Like, it's been, I don't know. If you told 1995 me that I'd be sick of Star Wars, would not listen. Would be like not believe you, but I gotta be honest. I think I've been kind of tired of it since the prequels. Like, it's after the prequels. Like, it's just, no, just not really anymore. Like, I've never seen any of the cartoons or anything that came with the prequels or anything like that. So it's like, well, I guess I'm pretty well checked out of the franchise at this point, I suppose. Which sucks because I should like it, but nah.
Well, yeah, it's fun. It's a great universe.
Yes.
But I feel like they're focusing on the wrong things sometimes, which is why I'm interested in Andor. That sounds like them going in a direction that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like I'm all Jedi'd out.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Like, cool to see them in the prequels. Didn't really live up to the legendary hype, but that's something else. But like, they're supposed to be gone, and yet we're focusing on all these ones that missed the Great Purge or are brand new, or can we look at something other than a Jedi? Yes, lightsabers are cool. Yes, force powers are cool. Do something else, please. Also, all these compilations are great with the games, but I just realized, where is my X-Wing? Where is my TIE Fighter? Where is my X-Wing versus TIE Fighter? And all those other flight sim games? Why have those not been put together? Where's the Rogue Squadron games from the N64 era? You know?
Yeah. Well, Rogue Squadron itself is out there on various platforms. Yeah, just the original.
Okay.
PC port based, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's out there, but the other ones, the GameCube era ones, are not. So I don't know. I would like to see it. I would like those. Please let us have those. I think, you know what I'm really tired of with Star Wars? The discourse. I think I'm just sick of hearing about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just sick of people complaining about it. So I just don't care.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of just how I am in general with most things. It's like, all I hear is people just complaining, whining, doing things, saying stuff, like getting uppity about things that don't matter, I don't know, using it to further political stances. And I'm just like, I have no interest in this. I'm out. I don't care. So that's really it.
Remember when the Talking Trash Can was playing virtual chess against the big walking dog monster thing?
Yeah.
On the flying pizza? That was cool.
That was fun. Yes.
And then the farm boy talked to a Muppet and they sang a song about seagulls pecking heads. Good stuff.
It's true. Next question is from Nicole. Will you be playing or have you played Blueprints? What are your thoughts on the basic mechanic of it, which is to say a first-person point-and-click adventure game that generates its own playing field through a board game-style placement of tiles as you reach each new room, while seeding out generic keys, gems, and other useful items that you can use to buy your way to better success, while also hiding a story about your wacky uncle's family history?
If I'm not mixing it up with other chatter I've heard,
it's
the premise itself sounds really neat. And I believe what I've heard is everyone says it's really good until you get to like the late game where the pure RNG of it makes it a slog to finish it.
That's my understanding of it, having seen a playthrough recently, just coincidentally. It's like, oh, hey, that game. Yes.
So it's on the pile of get to it eventually, maybe one day, with the expectation of I probably will never finish it, which will bug me, but
yeah,
I will roll the dice only so many times before I have to move on to something else.
Yeah. Well, that's a roguelite for you, you know.
Yeah.
That's a neat concept, though. And
absolutely.
It's very interesting. So I would be interested in seeing more of it. I don't know if I'd want to play it. I'm done with video games yet. No, I'm kidding. But I don't know if I'd want to play this one. But, you know, it looks interesting. It definitely was interesting and fun to watch. But, you know, I don't have time to deal with that frustration. I got my own frustration. Nikki Rabbit has a question. So, what I got from the last question about Base and Zero swapping games is that X is now dead because no one saved him from Vile, and Base is now the protagonist of the X series. That makes sense, right? Anyway, skipping over a few games, how would Base X4 play out? What would he think of Iris and the Colonel? How would he handle Repliforce's uprising? And would he want to join them?
Oh, no. Base joining a highly structured military organization?
That doesn't sound like him, no.
People telling him what to do? Like, maybe he sticks with the hunters because they're like, could you please go shoot this thing for us? I'm like, fine. Doing it for me, not for you, though. Like, all right, thanks. But no, he would not join Repliforce. And I don't think he would particularly care about the hunters or the Repliforce turning on each other. He'd probably laugh.
Yeah, I think he's
all
like,
for it, burn it all down.
I think he's in his own little own side. He doesn't care what's going on. Yeah.
No, Iris is lying there dying. I wish for a future without humans. And it's like, yeah, they suck.
I agree.
Anyway, what was your name again? Oh, wait, I don't care. Bye.
I agree, whoever you are.
I don't know why he'd be fighting Sigma in any of these contexts other than he hates his cloak.
Maybe. Maybe he's just jealous. Like it's like I should be the villain, not you. You suck.
He wants his scythe. Hey, that's a sick looking weapon. Let me have it. No, I'm evil Reaper Sigma. Ow, you shot me in the face. Oh, stop it. Quit it. No. Is
that what he sounds like?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I do remember he's got a weird, scratchy voice and a lot of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Princess Ellie has a question. In the crossover, how come we got to see Batman and Flash villains, but instead of a Wonder Woman, it was just Gorilla Grodd? Even Lex got to have a mention in an earlier issue, and kind of feels like Diana's been getting the least represented mythos out of the Justice League here.
I cannot talk about all the discussions and things that were cut from earlier drafts, but suffice to say, I hear you. I acknowledge you. And I'll just have to leave it at that.
All right. Professor Scruffy Matter. This is a question for both Ian and Kyle, inspired by Straub and Rabbit Haver. One morning you walk outside with a mug of coffee, or whatever your usual morning beverage of choice is, to find a 440-foot cargo ship has run aground on your doorstep. What do you do aside from sighing audibly? Is this a case of finders keepers?
You say that, and I can see Lake Ontario from my balcony.
Yeah, this could actually happen to you. This could not happen to me.
It would be catastrophic for that ship to make it all the way across the park and the street and through at least one building.
And up multiple floors in your building.
Up to me, but, it'd be something to wake up to, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And even though it's not even remotely near that part of the highway, I'm sure it's going to cause congestion on the Gardner. God, everything causes congestion on the Gardner. But I don't think it's going to be a finders keepers thing, because what would I do with that boat so far off the water? I can't push it back. You can't slip that thing in reverse and just eep, back it back into the lake. Somebody else's problem, it ain't mine.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think the only way it would have gotten here is if it fell out of the sky. So, let's see. What would I do with it? I mean, it could be like a cool, desert bunker, like in the post-apocalyptic worlds, where they're living out of weird things, like things that have just been abandoned, a giant cargo ship like that would be a pretty cool fortress. Otherwise, you could make it a tourist attraction. That's a thing.
No.
Other than that, I really can't think of anything else. I mean, I couldn't use it unless I converted it to some sort of desert boat. I don't know. Maybe it's like the sand barge from Return of the Jedi. I don't know. Do something like that.
If we're doing post-apocalyptic, go full Mad Max. Put some tank treads on it.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know how it would move, but whatever.
Oh, who cares? You got your own like trundling city boat warship thing.
It reminds me of Batman.
Way cooler than mine.
Makes me think of Batman Ninja.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow, that was a long time ago.
Finally, a shipping question I can get behind.
Yeah, indeed. Scarfy Pirate Dog is here with a DC-related question. How convenient. Mr. Mixospitalik wants to take a break from Superman, so he decides to have his brand of fun in another dimension entirely. Which world does he go to? Why, the world of Drogoon. What happens?
We'll stick to the Crew of Fortune's lap here, and he's going to make his spiel about how he comes from another dimension and he's seeking challenges to stimulate his godly mind. And Wynn's like, oh yeah, I'll fight you.
Oh.
And Mixie's like, all right, a little crass, but all right, I like your energy. Let's go. And Fortune's just going to sit back and watch. Now, if this is going to be any kind of actual challenge, there needs to be rules. Otherwise, it's just some bestial throwdown, and any animal can do that. You're a god. What could we mere mortals do against that? And we get the kill tipsism rule in place because that's a standard. And Jobin doesn't really know what's going on. What's the tiny little round-eared human with the weird hat doing? We're just watching this. We're letting Wynn fight. Okay. Lissy's cheering her on because, oh, this is so cool. Look at Wynn go. And Orange just biding his time, and Wynn is expending all of her energy.
Of course.
She is doing everything she possibly can to hit the little man, and it's not working. And that's just fueling her fury to hit him harder. And Vorn is noting this. Things are getting a little dire here, and he interjects, excuse me, Mr. Mix-Spitlick. Yes. Just wanted to clarify on the rules. What was it you had to say to banish yourself? Kill tipsism. Uh-huh. How many times? It was twice. Can you even say that twice in a row? That seems like quite the tongue twister. Of course, watch. Kill tipsism. Boop. They're back to normal.
And he's gone.
And was like, yeah, I scared him off. And Vorn's like, yes, you did.
Got him. Nice.
Everyone's just going to go back to pilot the ship. He has no idea what's going on. You guys are weird.
Yeah. I mean, he's right. All right. Let's go ahead and get into this question here before we take a break from Shaggy. Ian, when answering the Full Metal Alchemist X Power Rangers question, did you mean to fuse Ed and Al's names into Edward Alric because Al is the Zord and Ed is the Ranger for it? Or was it a happy accident? Wishing you a good recovery from that head injury. I'm not sure if the wishing you a good recovery from the head injury is related to the question.
No. Look, if you hear any answer from me, and it's very entertaining and very witty, you can just assume I did it on purpose.
Uh-huh.
Universally. Retroactively.
Yeah. Yes.
Same goes for any kind of answer that you don't like or doesn't actually make any sense. It's because of the head trauma.
Yes.
Retroactively. By years. It was quite the knock to the noggin.
Yes. The head trauma reverberated back through the 10 years of this show.
No, it absolutely rung my bell. Let's not examine this any further. We've got a patron-sponsored ad. Stay tuned! Double L has a book out and hates long ad reads. Go read Masters of the System, Genesisters, a sci-fi take on the 90s console war. It's at llbryant.ca/books. Link in the description.
We're the bee and the berry. I'm the bee.
Jobs. No, I'm the bee.
Oh, my bad. We can cut that, right?
No, we can cut that.
Okay. We're the bee and the berry.
I'm the bee.
And I'm Strawberry.
And The Bee and the Berry is an irregularly scheduled podcast where we talk all things Sonic, writing fan fiction, and fan creation.
We snoop around at fan events, review the latest and hottest Sonic content, and host interviews with our fellow Sonic fan creators.
You know, just girly things.
And hey, if you want, you can totally send us any discussion topics or questions you'd like us to talk about, and we might answer them.
Or we might not.
But hey, you never know. You can find us on Twitter, Blue Sky, Tumblr, and YouTube at The Be The Berry.
Okay, we're running out of time here. Gotta grow fast.
Ciao!
We're back, and we have a question from Soccer Caught. What is Ian's and Kyle's favorite song that is written by Max Martin?
Had to look it up. Don't know if I went through an exhaustive list of everything he's done, but Blinding Lights, as performed by The Weeknd, top of the list.
There's
Easy.
a lot on the list. Basically, every popular pop song you've heard of the last, 25 years or so, this guy's involved with. So...
And like a lot of them are guilty pleasures, but that one in particular, that's a good one.
I'm still a fan of Everybody. Backstreet's Back.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like it's a good anthem. It's just a good it's powerful. It's fun.
Yep.
And apparently this is the guy also responsible for everyone's favorite song toward the end of April. It's Gonna Be May.
That one stung a little.
It's a little bit of an ironic one on my part. But, still funny.
I ain't challenging it. I'm letting you have that
It's still funny. It's still funny.
Oh, yes.
It's funny. Yes. I don't know who drug that one back up, but I'm glad they did as a modern meme, because it's like, who remembered that and decided to drag it up? It must have been Tumblr. It seems like a Tumblr thing. I think it is a Tumblr thing. Good stuff. Here's a question from somebody. How would prosthetics work in Drogoon? Would they vary in designs based on each culture/race? Would different materials be used in different places?
Yes. Just a blanket yes to that, because what works for an Age or a Hume isn't going to work for a Droff or an Enchanti or whatever.
Right, I'm going to say they have very different biology and
and
body shapes and stuff, yeah.
Like if you're a Nerman, you have to take into account being in a highly salty, wet location with extreme differences in depth and temperature. There's a lot to take into account.
Yeah.
Thankfully, because this is science fantasy, all of it runs on magic. So these prosthetics have a much greater range of functionality and ability than some of the more commonly accessible prosthetics that we have today. In terms of general accessibility. However, there is still cost to take into account. And not everyone can afford the top of the line, perfectly powered mana battery, looks just like the original. Some folks have to do with less, but there are different options for the varying peoples of the realms.
Yeah. And it's all magic, so you ain't got to explain crap.
There is a system.
Yes.
It's just it can be fuzzy when it needs to be.
It's your system, so as long as the system is not down and the cheat is not dead, then we can we can keep it going. Here's one from Twilord. Hey Kyle, how old does music have to be before it can be used without any kind of licensing? I don't know how to write the music for my game, and I can't pay for music when I don't know if it will sell a single copy. Well, Twilord, to answer your question, there's a lot of resources available of royalty-free music, stuff released under Creative Commons, and other public licenses that you can get a hold of. I mean, we all know the Kevin MacLeod stuff that we hear in a ton of YouTube videos, because all that is freely available to use for your YouTube videos and stuff like that. So there's also like packs of royalty-free music that you can get. I know I've seen Humble Bundle sell like a lot of those for like game dev bundles where of like audio packs that you will come with music and sound effects that you can use in your games. Stuff like that. I know you said you had actually found someone to do the music since you asked this question, but I thought this was a good question to ask anyway for anyone else who's maybe thinking about looking up looking for ways to add music and sound to their game without that. Otherwise, like, it gets real weird when it comes to licensing, because compositions will expire after 75 years, 90 years. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. But performances can still be under license. So if it's an old song but it was recorded recently and you're trying to use it in your game, you may run into a snag with that. So yeah, I would suggest just sticking with like royalty-free and Creative Commons stuff where you can. Just public licenses and stuff like that. Just go with that. Did you have anything you wanted to add to this, Ian?
Just a general sentiment of, if you're creating your own thing, game, story, comic, whatever, I do understand how it is difficult to fund that project and the fear of throwing a bunch of money at something that you're not going to get any returns on. But without being completely fanciful, because it is a real concern, I have to say you kind of have to put that aside, because if you want this done right and you can't do it yourself, you need to properly compensate the people who are going to do it for you.
Right.
I mean, there are tons of options out there. You listed a whole bunch, and there's a lot of creative people who put their material out there to support others, to help that creative process. And if you do take advantage of that, I would say find a way to pay it forward. Donate what you can, or help that particular artist out, or promote them, or however, because there is no guarantees. Not to make this all about me again, but with Drogoon, I've put a fair amount of money into this. I'm going to be putting more money into this.
Right.
This may die on the vine. There may be like 10 people who read this, and it's not going to cover expenses, but I want to tell this story. So I have to do what I have to make it happen. And you want this game to come out, you're going to have to do what you have to make it the best you can. And anyone listening to this, you're going to have to figure out how much you want to invest in it to see your vision come through.
I agree. All right. Here's a question from Spoiler 1001. I've always found it fun to write about the messy and complicated bonds that tie people together, how people try to make sense of it in themselves and others, and I was hoping to ask if you had any advice or things that I should keep in mind.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Because to write interpersonal relationships, you kind of have to understand how they work. And part of that will come from personal experience and observation of others. And not everyone's the best at that. And I'm one of them. Like, I miss social cues pretty bad. I look back across my life and go, oh, that's what was going on. Obvious in hindsight.
Yeah.
So what I try to do with these kinds of things is get into the heads of the individual characters, and when they interact, do the calculus on what is the situation, what are their expectations in this interaction, and what are their personalities like? How would they respond to these inputs? Which sounds a lot like computer science saying it out loud like that, but that's how I kind of approach it. Like, if character A has these personal hangups and character B says something innocuously that sets off character A, what is their relationship? Would character A understand that B was, out of pocket but didn't mean to be and roll with it? Or do they think to themselves that character B is got a grudge, so they find any reason to be insulted? How is it that they would interact, and just kind of let it organically flow from there? There's probably a wholly different way to approach it, and it's just as valid, but that's my personal approach to it.
Alrighty. In a completely different vein, here's one from Strawberry. Hi, Ian. You've just won a free car. On top of that, any expenses related to the car are completely covered. Parking, gas, repairs, insurance, etc. The only thing is, you're not allowed to sell or trade the car at any point. Oh yeah, and it's a Cybertruck. Do you take it?
Well, you kind of got Wait, back up. You said I want a free car.
Yeah.
Cybertruck is not a car. It's a mistake. Where's the free car?
Yeah, it's not a truck either, so yeah.
No. It is a travesty and affront.
Yeah. It's not a good car, and it's not a good truck either. It's like, if you want it to do truck things, it ain't gonna do truck things.
There's 2 or 3 that are actually in my kind of neighborhood that I see every now and again, and I'm just looking at it going,
I see tons of them
Okay.
around here. A lot of them. Most of them wrapped, because otherwise they'll turn to rust mush.
mm-hmm. We had a really bad snow, and all of their lights were completely covered in snow.
Yeah.
It just no.
So Nintendo.
So if you want to name another car, then I might consider it. But you got to name a car first.
Yeah, it's the Nintendo Labo car. That's what it looks like. Yeah, nah. I mean, I guess keep it and hope it explodes. And then, since the insurance is paid for on it, I just let the insurance replace it. Hopefully they don't just replace it with another Cybertruck. Yeah, pretty much. Tetsuya the Wise asks, you are tasked with going back in time to the beginning of the 21st century to warn the world about all the terrible things in store for the future, along with the knowledge of what will happen and information on scientific advancements achieved in the doomed future. You're also given the task of choosing 3 movies, TV shows, and games to preserve and show to the people of the past, as they risk being erased from the new timeline. What do you choose? Oh boy.
I don't know if I should even choose anything, because if I come back and I'm talking about all that's going to happen in just this year alone, they're going to lock me up and just say I'm a loon.
Yeah, and if you bring it back, you run the risk of it not ever being created. So, like, it might not exist by the time we get back there, back in time. It's like, uh-oh, now what?
Well, that's what he's saying, is we take it from the future to the past to save it from possible timeline erasure.
Yeah, but you already going back to the past changes the timeline. So,
Yes, but me and whatever is on my person coming back
yeah.
is being transplanted in the timeline. Therefore, it is safe from the erasure, presumably. Otherwise,
Sure.
by going back, I would immediately be erased, which defeats the entire purpose of travel.
We might be kind of getting a bit too far into the weeds on how this time travel actually works and getting
we
away
are not
from
answering the question properly.
away
No,
from
no.
the spirit of the question. Yes.
Okay, so the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie,
Okay. It's a pretty good one.
the first Lord of the Rings movie, and then we
Okay.
tell Peter Jackson, yeah, you never got around to the other 2 because it went off the rails. Get them right this time. And Air Bud 3 as a cautionary tale.
Don't tell any, or maybe do. Okay, I'm going to say, tell everyone they're all from the same series. In that order.
TV shows,
Mm.
start of the 21st century.
That's a lot of shows. A lot of movies, too.
That's hard because I don't really watch a lot of TV. Wait, when did Fooly Cooley come out?
It's like 2002, 2003?
All right, so right on the edge, so that needs to be saved.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Although it would have already been a production if it came out then, so it's safe, wasn't it? Look,
I guess maybe the manga might have existed.
I'm trying to think of the last TV show that I actually watched. I'm including streamed stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess Owl House. Bring that back.
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian, and say this is the tone that you want for your extended Disney universe when you sell it off, George. Why am I telling you? You're selling it off to Disney. Oh, and if the timing works out, the reinvention of Thundercats as a cautionary tale.
Let's see. I would bring back TV show wise, Top Gear, just because I'm that guy. The revival of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Yeah, I think I'd bring those episodes back. Those must be saved. And I don't freaking know, man. I'm like you. I haven't watched much TV. Oh, Arcane.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, those three. And for movies, let's see. It has to be stuff after 2000 and later, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that would need to be... I'm trying to think. When did some of these movies come out? Let's see. Oh, Megamind? Yeah, we got to save that one. That's important. We can't lose that one. The first John Wick.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe John Wick. It's a toss-up between John Wick, Mad Max Fury Road, and Shin Godzilla.
Ooh.
Actually, I might go with those three and leave Megamind off. I'm not sure.
No, that's the right choice. Megamind is like, you know what? I'll throw away Air Bud to bring in Megamind.
Okay.
We're already bringing enough cautionary warnings.
Yeah.
About everything else. And you know, maybe humanity needs Air Bud 3 to grow stronger.
Maybe it does. I don't know. Have you even seen Air Bud 3, or are you just throwing it under the bus?
No.
Because well, it might be good. You don't know.
No, I'm picking the low-hanging fruit that is technically on the ground.
Air Bud, the original, was a cute movie when it came out. When I was a kid.
Yes.
When I was a kid. Then they kept it going.
That's why I didn't specify Air Bud itself.
Maybe a cautionary tale, a good cautionary tale would be The Land Before Time, like 13 or whatever. It's like, why did you keep making these?
All right, and games.
Oh man,
Legend of Zelda:
hard.
Breath of the Wild.
Okay, that's it. That's the only one.
No. I'm thinking.
Okay.
Undertale.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like Undertale kind of has to be.
And Halo Infinite as a cautionary tale. No, the joke's dead. One of the FromSoft games. I'm inclined to say Elden Ring, but one of the FromSoft games, just to put in front of early 2000s players and say, here, beat this.
Yeah. I feel like Bloodborne.
What's the matter, small child? You can't get through it. People did it with wearing but a pot and a loincloth. Get good.
Yeah, well, honestly, I'd argue Bloodborne just because that's a bit more. I think that one's a bit more celebrated. Just
all right.
Just in terms of like, you know, maybe it's just because of the demand that people want it on something other than PlayStation. They want it on other things, but maybe that's why. But I personally wouldn't put Bloodborne on my list. But either way, geez. Trying to think of games after 2000 that need to be saved. Super Mario Odyssey,
all right,
I think is definitely one gotta keep. God, that is hard. Why is this question so hard, Ian? I'm trying to think of anything else. Like, what other games are like, you know, they risk being gone forever if we don't save them. Shovel Knight. There we go. That's number 2.
Right, there you go.
And as a purely, as a pick just for me, you know, for myself, Gran Turismo 4.
Yep.
That's it. Yep.
Honorable mention to Smash Ultimate, because that's like an arc of various game stuff. So even if the games themselves are not preserved, their memory and music and design are there.
That's true, yeah. That's a good point. I mean, there's so many possibilities. Like, what I don't even know, man. So many. Trying to whittle it down to 3. All right, let's move on. Here's this one from the Oddly Roger. Hey, Ian and Kyle, if you were tag team pro wrestlers, what would be your gimmicks, your costumes, and the names of your signature moves?
I'm imagining us coming down the ramp to the BumbleKast theme as it is.
Okay.
Not the metal version, not any of the other versions we've had, just this happy, peppy one. Where we come out looking as hard as we can.
It's not going to be a kazoo version?
Every time we come down the ramp, I've got some new visual gimmick, luchador, hardcore, like full leather gear, cowboy, something stupid every time. And Kyle's just like in sweats. He's just happy to be here.
I'm just here. Yeah. I like
that. He's waving to people.
Exactly. I like that. One of your signature moves has to be the knowing smile.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Turn away from the opponent and then dramatically just whip my head around and just smile. It doesn't do anything. They slap me to the mat and, it's a quick 3 count.
I thought it would be like the finger poke of doom where like you do that and they instantly just fall over.
Yeah.
You didn't even touch him, but he fell down.
I'm the only one who actually gets in the ring. Kyle brings a folding chair with him and sits by the ringside and cheers, smiles, laughs as I get thrown against the ropes and bounced off the mat. I haul myself over for him to tag in. He gives me a high five. I get dragged back to be pummeled more. Kyle, they're bringing out a ladder, and you're like, I know.
I know, it's great. This seems a little too mean for me in reality.
And somehow we're
funny.
Undefeated.
Well, yeah. yeah. Until they finally get fed up and just come down and grab me off the chair and fling me into the ring and start beating on me. It's like, well,
I have been fully tenderized, and the opponent is exhausted from just beating the crap out of me, and you kind of mosey on to into the square circle and just hold him down. 1, 2, 3, bing, bing, bing.
Speaking of the finger poke of doom. Oh boy. Well, that's great. I like it. Vineclad has a question. I woke up in a cold sweat the other night realizing that a Popeye cross Sailor Moon crossover hasn't happened yet. The very thought of these characters not interacting brings me to tears. Please, Ian, can you weave me a tale of these two sailors to put my weary mind at ease?
See, I'd play it straight.
Of course.
As straight as you can. I mean, a little tongue in cheek to be sure, but keep it on point. Like Bluto and Brutus and God, who are the other Popeye villains?
I don't know.
Have them all
those are like the major two.
Have them all get infected by Queen Beryl at some point. Popeye's transformation sequence is initiated with the spinach, and it's got the full sparkles and spin around and whatever as he gets a more intricate sailor suit. But he strikes the pose, and it's still to his signature theme.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of antics between Luna and the Jeep. And Wimpy is hanging out with Tuxedo Mask for no explained reason. They're just always together. They don't acknowledge each other.
Yeah.
It's this, they show up at the same time and leave at the same time. Tuxedo Mask, does the twirl with the cape. My work here is done.
But you didn't do anything.
I don't know why that made me laugh so much, but I mean, it's funny.
And Sailor Moon gets some kind of new technique or something based off of the Popeye iconography. So instead of smashing villains with a giant heart, it's a giant anchor.
There you go.
Biggest rift between the two of them is she refuses to eat the canned spinach. She hates the smell. She hates the texture. She hates the look. Nope. Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Until she's been put through 3 separate buildings by giant corrupted Bluto, and Popeye runs over and pops open the can and feeds her a little bit while she's semi-conscious, and then she does the full secondary transformation sequence where she gets an even more intricate Popeye themed sailor outfit with the music playing.
Of course.
Just start there flying everywhere. And then she's like, one punches the dude. And then spits because, God, that flavor is awful.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, what are these high school kids getting into these days?
And now I'm just laughing because somebody cosplayed as Popeye the Sailor Moon. It's Sailor Moon from the neck down and Popeye from the neck up. It's like, wow. Yeah, that's Popeye the Sailor Moon. Makes sense to me. All right, one last question. It's from Wiggy B. Dear Mr. Ian, when writing for a series, comic or TV, how do you approach planning the overall plot versus writing individual issues or episodes, especially one that's ongoing or being made on a production schedule? Do you map out the general plot and character arcs first, then write each episode to hit key points in the story? Or do you start with the general direction of where things are going and improvise along the way? What's your advice to make everything fall into place between the big picture and the self-contained episodes?
I try to avoid improv as much as possible. Sometimes you got to think of ideas on the fly because of the schedule and such, but I like to have all my T's crossed and all my I's dotted as best I can. So when approaching a project, be it a comic run or TV or whatever, what is the scope? How many episodes do I have to play with? What are the run times? How many issues? What is the page count? How much time and space do I have at my disposal? If this is a project for somebody else, which it usually is, I think that's the crux of your question here. What do they want? What is it that they want to achieve? What is the theme for this project? What are the characters involved? How much is going to change? What is it that they want achieved by this? And with all that in mind, where do we start? Where do we end? If the characters are this status quo, what have they accomplished by the end of the project? So I've got my starting line and my end goal. Okay. Everything has to fit between those two. And I have this much time and this much space to make it happen. All right. Now, we break this down traditionally into this many issues, or we're going to have a budget for this many minutes of airtime per episode. Okay. So we know it's this many pieces between point A and point B. What are the hooks? What are the big narrative beats that are going to be engaging with each installment? What is accomplished with each issue or chapter or episode? And with those in mind, where are the hooks? If episode 1 achieves this, what do we put at the end to make people go, okay, that singular arc is complete, but this is enticing. I want to see what comes next. Move on to issue 2, episode 2, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What is accomplished there? What is that individual arc? What is at the end of it to make you engaged into the next chapter? How does it fit back to part 1? How is this all leading us to the end goal? So, in summation, the way I approach any big project is to start at the highest macro level you can, and then narrow the scope further and further down into the finer details. So that way, if the protagonist is going from point A to point B and learns X, Y, and Z along the way, I know where they can learn these lessons in the most sensible, organic way, and how their journey will lead them to these points, rather than fly by the seat of my pants and go, are they going to get this all done by the end? Oh, who cares? We'll find out. No. I want my roadmap to have every single pit stop, bathroom break, and burger joint noted down in detail.
Yeah. I think that helps too with, like, you know, working with other people, because it's like you have a roadmap that you're going to follow, and then everyone else can also see that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're working with, you know, beyond just yourself, when you're working on a team, it's definitely a lot better to go that method for sure.
And if there are any changes that have to be made in process, which happens all the time,
Yep.
you can see what it's going to affect down the line because you know how things are supposed to fall out, and you can adjust, provided you've got the time and the budget to do so, to make those adjustments. This goes back to some question somebody was asking on my personal Patreon. When constructing like this, how do you prevent it from just being a fully plot-driven narrative? How do you engage with the characters if they're, on rails this entire time?
Mm-hmm.
And this is my personal approach to it. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it. It's just the way I've done it. And there are other ways to approach it, something that is more character-driven. But for me, knowing the way that knowing where the characters are going are one thing. How they get there is where the characterization comes in.
Right.
And if the protagonist needs to reach this point, but it really doesn't make sense for their character to do so, if I have to come up with contrivances to make this work, then there's something fundamentally wrong with the roadmap. I need to go back to a higher level and say, okay, where have we gone wrong? What needs to change so that this makes sense overall, so that it does feel fulfilling and it does make sense. And if the character is getting there too easily, or if there is an interaction that makes things more interesting, I know I can plug it in here or there because it's all going to fall into place somewhere else. Understanding the parameters I'm working in allows me to make the characters travel their own journey and come to their own decisions in a way that feeds into the greater whole.
Alrighty. Well, I think that's a good note to end on. Let's go ahead.
Thank you so much to everyone who supports this show over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or by being a YouTube member. You quite literally make this show happen.
Yes. I think it's about time we put this one out to pasture.
Goodbye, dear sweet Bumble Cow, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
Yes, send this BumbleKast to a podcast farm upstate. I don't know why that's the direction I went for the ending, but here we are.
Please don't slaughter us. I don't want to be a bumbleburger.
Joining the great podcast in the sky.
No. We're not sending our bumble chow to a forest far away.
You said don't turn, you don't want to be a bumbleburger? Noni says no promises. And we know Noni.
Well,
Noni would do that.
If Noni did that, at least we'd be delicious.
Well, yeah, of course.
If you're going to go out in style.
Yeah.
Still not my preferred way. Not the worst way, though.
No.
I'm going to be honest.
Could be worse.
You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
So the Eurovision Song Contest is happening today. So in the spirit of the day, let's assume a powerful force has forced the 6 realms of Let's assume a powerful force,